Okay, so this will be a feedback slash critique for Parkour Grip. Kind of really late to this, but I just saw the notification. I'm like, why not? You'll have to bear with me as my Bryan knowledge is very, very basic. Ironically, being in, this is in Peter's Discord, awkward. Yeah, so a lot of my feedback is going to be a lot more just very basic. Yeah, not really going to be able to share any crazy ass Bryan tech. But there were some things I noticed where I'm just kind of like, hey, why would you do this in this situation, or why aren't you doing X thing? Some things to note. I am not a professional by any means. I'm just a nerd who likes Tekken. And I like Bryan. I think he's cool. I haven't put much time into learning him just because I was just like, too many characters right now. But he's really cool. I don't mind it. And so my analysis and feedback here is coming from a place of based on my experiences in playing Tekken and more about like, facing Ling and stuff, and based on my like what I've seen other people either playing Bryan or facing Ling, what they do, and here are my 2 cents. All it is food for thought, and hopefully just sort of something to be like either gives you something to work with or sparks something for you to go, okay, yeah, I can do this next time. It is by no means gospel. It is just kind of, here's my 2 cents. Hope it helps, and if it helps, awesome. And if you would like more specific feedback, or you're like, hey, I would have a specific question on this, blah blah blah, feel free to ask and let me know. All right. So I'm gonna guess the Tekken overlay is not on your side. Yeah, so it's not your screen. So I'm not gonna harp too much on punishment. But I will say, I'm gonna stress that with Ling, it's really just about every little punish opportunity you get, you have to take, because the character is so slippery. It's very unlikely that you're gonna be able to go on offense as much, right? Like it's very rare that you're gonna be able to be like, all right, I'm gonna go on offense. I'm gonna focus on my game plan, and boom, it'll lead to success. A lot of the times, it's just you're gonna turtle up. You're gonna hold every button that you can for dear life, and not overextend, not press anything, and you have to force a mistake out of the Ling, right? And it seems kind of really awkward and difficult at first, and can be, but it's still, every small poke, every small punish is still a victory, and is still momentum in your favor, right? So it's about capitalizing on those small opportunities. So this is going to be a running theme, is that you get one good orbital in, and then for the rest of the match you just kind of throw out the move when you expect something, but it never really works out in your favor, and a failure to adjust from that hurts you. It's not necessarily oh, I just realized I also started really early. Did I go on the timestamp? Oh, it does start earlier. Uh, why did the timestamp take us there? Rip, this is awkward. I'll just go with it. Yeah, so you'll notice like you get like a good orbital in, and then you just keep trying to use the move as it goes on, and it's just kind of like, why? You're, uh, your orbital usage, again, not a Bryan player. I'm just kind of like, here's my observations. It seems to be more from a place of like, excuse me. It seems to be more from a place of, I think I'll just throw this out here and it'll work out, as opposed to, I've conditioned my opponent and I believe that they're going to be susceptible to an orbital at this point, right? It kind of goes back and forth, but I feel like you go onto the orbital a bit too much, but an unfortunate drop. Oh, that's weird.
How you can win receive against the film, but you see like good players manage to do it.
Man, this overlay is really distracting. Okay, so like right here, right, I get it, you don't have that much life to work with, it's whatever. But
which simple against the film,
It's
but you
only
see
like a
like
2-second
good
thing.
players manage to do it.
So you
Sometimes.
trade, and then you continue to press a button here. You're going for hatchet kick. Why are you going for hatchet kick after that trade? Right? Both of you traded jabs. The Lings will still have plenty of advantage. Hatchet kick will take a lot of time to come out. Hatchet kick is gonna be 20 frames. The Ling can press whatever she wants, and then she'll beat you out of it. Why are you pressing hatchet there? My opinion, just hold back to block. Just block. Accept that you got to take the mix up. If you die, you die. But then you also get more information about what the opponent likes to do. I feel like you're putting yourself at an unnecessary risk. I get that Bryan's kind of like on the slower end of things in terms of frame data. Like it's not like he's got like crazy ass fast buttons. But I don't think hatchet kick was the play. I think a lot of times I feel like throughout the match your movement is just very stiff. Like you're not backdashing anywhere near as much as you could be. Obviously, there's only so much you can do before it just turns into like, oh, let me just backdash mindlessly. But definitely there, you should have been backdashing and sidestepping to disalign yourself from the wall, as opposed to, all right, I just traded a button. Let me slam my hatchet kick and hope for the best.
Of course, we are probably which one? I don't remember. That one first.
Yeah. This just feels like you're throwing out buttons and hoping that they'll work out in your favor. Like what exactly? Okay, my 2 cents is that there has to be like an end goal that you are trying to push your opponent towards, right? For some characters, it's I'm gonna keep pushing them and pushing them to the wall. For other characters, it's gonna be I'm conditioning them with mids, or lows or something too, so that they'll like be susceptible to my mids, or they'll be frustrated because I'll just keep doing all these safe moves and abusing it that they create a mistake which you then capitalize on with punishment. Here it just seems like you're just kind of throwing out whatever works. Like why would you down forward one there in that situation? Like look at that pushback, right? And then here this should have been hatchet kick or movement to try and position yourself a bit better, so you can like do neutral orbital whiff and try to bait something from the opponent. Right now it just feels like let me just press some buttons and hope it works out. Like I get like rip. Oh, it's a tragedy. That's a tragedy. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so like right there, it just feels like you were just at a loss as to what to do, right? You had no idea what the Link's just, oh man, the backdash is kind of ass. The Link's just backdashing, and you're just kind of like, all right, I guess this is what we're doing now. This is fine. Why is it important if the Link's just backdashing? All you need to do is backdash or forward dash with her, dash block as much as you can, right? I know it's Tekken Online, and Tekken Online is shit, and dash blocking is just kind of whatever, but you have to utilize the tools to your advantage. Dash block with them, push the Link to the wall, where then, your tech traps and all your other fancy shit work out really well, right? Like Bryan actually has a wall combo now, I think. I forget what it was in Peter's video. It was a +3? Oh man, rip Alzheimer's. But it just feels like you're getting frustrated for no reason. And I get that, but it's like it's the Ling matchup. You know what you signed up for. You know what you're in for when this character appears on the screen. It's going to be a test of patience, it's going to be a war of attrition, and you have to be very judicious with your moves. Just throwing out big Hail Marys and hoping some of your counter hit stuff works out isn't the name of the game. That is Tekken 7. Tekken 7 is the I'm gonna press my counter hit buttons, and it's the Simpsons meme where it's like I'm gonna keep swinging my arms, and if you get hit, it's your own fault. That is Tekken 7. However, it is not this matchup, and you have to be mindful of that. Nice, good low parry combo. Again, why the orbital? What is It's not like actually okay. So it's not like the worst idea, right? It's like, oh, if they do like get up low kick, you're already there. But it's like if you have time, I don't know. I feel like if you have time to orbital, you could have done back one. Like back one's is back one really linear? I'd have to think about that because it's like you have, or because they tech roll to the direction that hatchet kick tracks, they should have done hatchet kick, right? Because it's like, okay, I can either do a mid that leaves me at -5 up close against a Ling, which isn't the worst place to be, but it's not ideal. Or you do a mid that leaves you at +4, right? And it kind of like locks down the Ling. Or you do your really high damage low that leaves you at +5, right? To catch the tech roll. Just because I noticed you do that on Wake Up quite a bit, where you're like, all right, let me just dash in, do an orbital on their Wake Up, and it's like, why? There's just no point. You're all you're doing is throwing away all your Oki and then just kind of tossing away the turn, right? Like I said, it's not the end of the world, right? It's not like you should be crucified for doing that. I'm just saying, hey, you have better options, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, rip. Yeah, this is another thing, right? The little Roo kick. 3+4 should be fine. I think you should have done 3+4 there. We'll talk about that later.
What's happening there? Copy. Let me go to.
Oh, there you go. There's 3+4. Rip.
This video is not available.
Okay. So here's the thing. You're doing 3 of these. You're doing 3 of these knees in a moment, and it's like the Ling is not ducking anything, right? And then right here, this should have just been hatchet kick all day, every day, and then maybe a back one afterwards. Because the Ling's very passive. They're not challenging you with too many buttons. They're not like, all right, let me just throw out all my like evasive stuff and moves and see how it works, see what happens, right? Because this should have been hatchet kick, and then they're sidestepped to the wrong direction, so that should have been another hatchet kick, right? Like, take advantage of your opponent's passiveness to use your more sort of offensive oriented stuff. Don't just do this move of like, all right, let me just do this move 5 times in a row, hoping that they press into it. They're not gonna press into it. If you're really worried about that, at worst, maybe do 3+4. I'm not sure if the wall pushback if the wall reduces the pushback from 3+4, but you know, just something like that, as opposed to whatever move you're doing now that's just not really working out. So more like, you know, if you see the opponent it locked into a state where, okay, the opponent just keeps crouch blocking, so I can do my mids, or the opponent just keeps stand blocking, so I can do my lows, right? Does Bryan have a throw game? Maybe throws as well too. Like I know, oh yeah, he does a fireman thing, right? So he has some command grabs available to him. I'm not sure if it's like a full throw game or how good it is, but it's an option to consider. Yeah, it's like, clearly this is all information you should be processing, right? Okay, my opponent is clearly not adjusting or doing anything to this method of attack. Let me try out this different thing. Of course, adjusting your timing so that it doesn't become predictable is a very difficult thing. I understand that, but you need to adjust your timings here. You need to try out different things. When one method of attack, while you are safe, it is not doing anything to advance your position, right? You're not any closer to winning the match. You're just kind of mindlessly pressing this button, hoping that the Ling presses into something, except the Ling is super passive and just doesn't do anything. Right? Another hatchet, because that would have gotten them. Right? This at least should have been back ones, right? Like this should have been, there you go. See, so right here, double hatchet in a row works out in your favor, then the Ling just reacts to the duck and it's just like, oh shit, that's right, Bryan has hatchet kick. And then they start ducking, and that's what should have been back one. I mean, I guess taunt works out.
Now it's working,
I don't know. Oh, nice. Okay. And this is the one where we saw, like, you're going for orbitals and stuff.
I mean, it's hard to. I don't know. In racism, like you kind of blend.
Think?
What?
Oh yeah. Okay.
I
So
don't know. At this point, like, what he thinks about Black Lives Matters, I don't know.
okay. Right here.
What he thinks about Black Lives Matters, I
The,
don't know.
right here. The Ling backdashes away or cancels her back turn, whatever. This should have been dash block forward and immediately, or just start sidestepping. You need to move away from the wall, right? You need to start disaligning yourself from the wall so any stray hit from the Ling doesn't turn into some awkward wall splat, and then all of a sudden you have to deal with Ling's Oki, right? There's really like, you're just too linear here, right? This is a 3D game. Use the 3D environment to your advantage. Don't just lock yourself into a position and then just be like, all right, this is all I can do, right? There's a lot more you could be doing. Nice. Rip. Tragedy. Tragedy. It is what it is.
Conversation starts about racism, like, I always wonder what really people think.
What is Bryan's
about
like
racism? What is their
little
definition about racism? For me, racism, I don't know, like, just noticing the difference. Like, if I notice somebody is Japanese, or I don't know, I notice somebody.
Oh, nice. Okay, so we'll
like,
think about that later.
For me, like, I know, like, notice what we have a difference. Like, it's like noticing what we are different breeds of dogs. For me, this is like racism. I don't know. But I don't. Probably most of people think that racism is having different.
Nice. Combos are weird, but it worked out. And I think there is one more match. I think my video is too long, but let's just see how it goes. God damn it! All right. Walk me through this, right? Like, what was your reasoning here? What is your reason to just go, all right, I'm going to do down forward one and it'll work out? Like, does Bryan's down forward one hit AOP? What is your reasoning behind doing this really slow mid in the neutral against a character with a plethora of counter hit launchers and all this other crazy bullshit, right? You need to reconsider how your method of attack is going. This should just be dash blocking, right? Backdash to safety, force the Ling to approach you where it's like Ling's approach can be scary, right? Because now she has down back 2 and that low is really fucked, right? But it's like having Ling approach you is a much better world to be in than having to approach the Ling yourself, right? Like Bryan's shitty hitboxes are notorious, right? And he has solid moves too, but they're very sluggish. They're very susceptible to just kind of getting cheesed out by Tekken 7 shitty hitboxes. So you need to force the Ling to come to you where, yes, she still has annoying tools, but they're less likely to be that, oh, I just evaded your powerful mate or whatever, got him, GG's. You're less likely to run into those bullshit scenarios, right? You need to put as much of the match into your work, as much of the matchup into your favor as possible. Running up and doing down forward one is not that way. It is not the way.
Probably also better to
a tragedy.
To have some kind of stereotypes against gypsies, so you're not taking advantage, right? In your life, right?
Let's keep going.
I mean,
Rip.
Like, stereotypes works, like, it's like, how's it called? Is it racism or not? Like, what racism is when you say what
nice
one is less worth than ours. So when you're comparing what is better than ours.
Nice. All right, what's the conversion? Rip sidewall.
I am Slav.
Rip.
I never
okay. All right, the Ling. No, I don't think your decision was the worst. Actually, okay.
Okay, let's say I am Slav, but I am actually.
Why are you jabbing there, right? What is your reasoning behind that? This should have been movement. This should have been, I'm gonna start sidestepping to disalign myself from the wall so I don't get fucked into a corner, right? You need to start doing sidestep left here and start giving yourself way more room to work with so you can backdash to safety and force like a whiff punish out of the Ling. The jab isn't the worst idea, but I think it's too much risk given how close you were to the Ling. Like, she can press any straight button, and because Bryan's jab is notoriously shitty, it'll just whiff, and then she just hits you with whatever she wants, as we see here. I guess it was a whiff punish, but it was unfortunate. But yeah, just a lot more movement.
Or I don't think what other race is better. Like when you
good whiff punish.
Like better in what sense?
See, that's what I'm talking about, right? Like, look, you do a backdash, the Ling just throws out the move as a response. You're at the perfect distance. You do the, what is it, Corsical back 3-2 or something, right? You do the launcher from Bryan for the whiff punish, and you're golden. Right? That should be your goal. Focus on movement. Focus on creating whiff punishment opportunities. And then we'll see how it goes.
Long distance runners, like Jamaicans winning almost every marathon.
Nice.
Like every race has some kind of like culturally, I don't know, environmentally betterism of others in some kind of sense, I don't know. And like really objectively comparing, and it's like, again, like comparing the whole race, it's like taking average from this race and comparing to the average man of another race. It's kind of as well, it's kind of
tragedy. Alright, let's just keep going.
Average man of another race, it's kind of as well, it's kind of like comparing average temperature in one hospital to another hospital's temperature. Like it's kind of doesn't make sense at all. Like
that's not the worst
like
idea.
Stereotypes works, but at the same time doesn't.
I feel like if you, this is like a weird thing, right? Being backturn against Ling is always like a very awkward situation. I feel like if you did orbital, you might actually survive, because just do neutral orbital, right? Hell, even do just backwards orbital and see how it works out for you. I feel like backwards orbital would have been solid, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's like a weird thing to input, but obviously it's like these niche situations, just how weird this character is. Again with the orbitals.
Knowing average information is better than not knowing average information, like at all. Of course, when you're getting approach,
is that a high? Oh, it is. Huh.
You need to have individual approach to this individual, because he's not representative of average.
Again. It's that the Ling throws out something, you're primed for the whiff punish, and you get the whiff punish, right?
Let's say. You probably understand what I mean. For example,
that's
you might have some kind of
right. You gotta be mindful of those situations. If you block the spring kick at a too late of a time, you might not be able to get like the punish, right? Because that thing's active for so long, so the block data changes. So just be careful about that.
For example, you might have some kind of average,
nice
predisposition average.
Oh, okay. What are you pressing? What's going on here?
Predisposition average.
All right.
Perception of stuff,
I couldn't
like
tell,
a
but
Russian person who is drunk, beating his
again. You need to, so
stuff, like Russian
you get hit, unfortunate, whatever. The Ling backdash is this needs to be sidestep. Start disaligning yourself from the wall.
Beating his wife and having pet bear and
okay.
Who is drunk,
so
beating his wife.
Does the Ling hit you?
Okay.
Okay. You just blocked a move from the Ling, right? And then she's in back turn. Clearly the move is not punishable, but it's like she's in back turn. Why would you do back one right there? I feel like, again, you're too close. The Ling can press any button and counter hit you out of it, and it's just kind of like really risky to throw out in that situation, right? Just be mindful. We'll talk about it more later.
I don't know, drinking vodka all the time and stuff like that. But when you actually meet me, you like wonder what the fuck happened. He's actually drinking, and he's playing Tekken. Like, I don't know. And he doesn't have a pet bear.
Rip. Okay, so Excuse me. Neutral, punishment slash matchup knowledge, combos slash Oki, personal opinion stuff, right? Neutral, your movement's way too stiff. You're just very. It's like you're on rails half the time. There's no sidestepping from you. There's not even any backdashing, right? To force whiffs out of the opponent. You get like one backdash in there and that's it. And maybe you don't have like the Korean backdash stuff down. It's just fine. I'm not saying that you need to have perfect KBD to like play this character or play Tekken, but you can just do stair stepping, right? Just backdash, sidestep, backdash, sidestep. It's not about whether or not you have perfect backdashes. It's about utilizing a tool that is in the game for your advantage. You throwing out a bunch of your counter hit launchers and other power moves and big Tekken moves is not going to work out in your favor. You need to focus more on creating an ideal space where either the Ling whiffs a button and you're primed for the whiff punish, as you saw at the start of some of these rounds, or you can do like neutral orbital stuff and sort of frustrate the Ling when you have the advantage, and do neutral orbital, frustrate the Ling into making a mistake, either running into you and you just do orbital and she runs into that, or alright, let me throw out like a poke, like down 4, hatchet kick, 3+4, whatever, and they kind of just have to hold it, right? And then especially more importantly, your stage awareness of noticing, okay, my back is to the wall, that doesn't give me a lot of room to like move around and do anything with, right? And the Ling backdashes, gives up her pressure, and even one or two backdashes, right? It's like, okay, boom, I'm gonna sidestep right now so I can disalign myself from the wall and move on and not put yourself in a fucked situation, right? So a lot of just utilizing movement, you're not necessarily gonna sidestep moves, right? That's always, you focus on sidestepping moves, not characters, but it's just about creating opportunities without having to rely on, all right, let me just press buttons and hope for the best. Let me just press my all these moves and hope for the best, right? Dash blocking. Dash blocking is your friend. It gives you plenty of things to work with. When you dash up into your opponent's face and hold back, what do? Do they like to press buttons? Do they just hold it? Do they try to challenge you with counter hit moves? Blah, 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 blah. All of that is information that you can then tailor your offense to figure out, right? Way too much time is, let me dash in, do a move, dash in, do a move, dash in, do a move. And it's always moves that like kill your turn, end your pressure, when you don't, there's no like immediate need to do that. All you're doing is just throwing away your turn, right? Try to focus, compact your gameplay and focus more on what are my options that can possibly benefit me with either plus frames, information, a little bit of chip damage, right? But don't overextend, either killing your turn, being very weak to a sidestep or something, right? Other aspects of neutral. You didn't really discourage the Ling from sidestepping ever, right? When she sidestepped in the wrong direction, Hatchet wasn't really there to punish her for doing that. When she sidestepped in the other direction, nerfing orbital, whatever, there was never any 1+2s from the Bryan to kind of lock her down, right? Don't do the full string, but just do like a 1+2 every now and again to just kind of be like, hey, don't sidestep, don't move around too much, you're playing my game, right? And then focus on utilizing movement to try and create more whiffs, right? You're not doing anything to control space, you're just kind of like, all right, let me just throw out my buttons. Even a forward 4, right? The shit's unpunishable now. And then backdashing to create something, right? Just anything to discourage the Ling from just sidestepping orbitals like she was doing, from locking it down so that she's, it's a lot easier to chip away at this character when she's not sidestepping, moving around, doing a bunch of random bullshit, right? Other aspects of neutral. The Ling didn't really do AOP that much, but you need to maybe utilize your grounded options a bit more for when the Ling chooses to stay on the ground and orbital is just gonna whiff, right? It was too obvious that you're just gonna dash up and do orbital all the time on Oki, And the Ling took advantage of that just by staying on the ground, altering their timings, and doing whatever else they wanted to. So figuring out what are my options to safely punish the opponent for staying on the ground and then just sticking to those, right? At least for Oki. And then when they try and start teching, that's when you do, all right, they teched hatchet kick, or they teched 1+2, blah, 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 right? What other aspects of neutral need work? Poking. Your poking is all over the place. You're not really poking, you're just throwing out your big Tekken moves and hoping for the best. Where are your one jabs, right? I get it, Bryan's jab is shitty or just notorious for being shitty, whatever. It's still a useful tool, right? Just doing 1 or 1-2, stuff like that. Down 4 is a perfectly fine tool. 13 damage is solid. Neutral on hit solid. -11. Ling has a good wall standing forward, but it's whatever. These tools that can either put on a little bit of pressure on your opponent, but more importantly, they don't kill your turn, or they're easy chip damage, right? A jab won't kill your turn. You can kind of see, you get to see what the Ling likes to do after that situation. If they start flash ducking, that's when you can start using your mids, right? Down 4, super safe compared to like hatchet kick, right? You don't have to worry about the speed. I-15, it's unseeable. It's easy chip damage. Like, you can be racking every time you do down 4. That can be 13 points of damage here. Do down 4, it's neutral, so you can start backdashing away instantly or sidestepping or whatever you need to, right? You don't have to worry about like, oh, it's minus on hit, like how generic down 3 is. Does Bryan have a generic down 3? Oh, that's interesting. Because it's like, oh, is that the mini combo with hatchet? Anyway, other aspects of neutral. Yeah, that was just about it. Utilize more movement to just kind of figure out, like, okay, what is my opponent doing? And also, oh shit, my back is to the wall, I don't want to be here, and start moving away. Playing a bit more compact, focusing more on little hits of chip damage, right? You're not always going to get your big Tekken moves. You're not always going to get some fancy, like, jet upper punish, or what's another big one? Like, you're not always going to get the orbital. You need to condition them with a bit more hatchets, a bit more down 4s, so that they'll be more inclined to duck. It might not always happen, right? They'll just be like, I'm not fucking ducking anything. And that's fine. You just get more chip damage. And before you know it, you've accumulated 80 plus points of damage just from chip damage alone without having to put any risk on yourself, right? Punishment / matchup knowledge. Excuse me. The Ling never went into AOP ever. They were never like, all right, let me start doing AOP bullshit. Let me start doing evasive bullshit. They were just super passive. They just blocked everything you did, and they never really challenged you on stuff until like later on in the match. And then from that point, you had already just kind of toned it down so you could whiff punish them, right? Take more advantage of that. You have to, and this is not really matchup specific, but just kind of like focus more on, okay, what is my opponent doing? More importantly, what are they not doing? They're not crouch blocking? Okay, more lows. They are crouch blocking? Okay, and let me pester them with some mids, right? And also just give them reasons to, which we'll talk about later. Other aspects of punishment. There wasn't really anything crazy that the Ling was doing. A lot of it just comes down to, because you're not utilizing movement and dash blocking as much, there weren't really that many whiff opportunities you could have gotten, right? Like, whiff opportunities are your prime time with Ling. Every whiff opportunity, every whiff that the opponent does is an opportunity. It either leads to a punish, which, again, you need a lot more experience in the matchup, because Ling can be very tricky, I get that. But it can also be either a punish or an opportunity to just kind of like, all right, let me dash in, do a quick move to poke, or you use that time to readjust and reposition yourself. Like, if your back is to the wall, they whiff something, and she does her back turn cancel into the little, like, down back to roll to slide away, then you're like, okay, they're really far. Let me move away from this wall so I don't just get fucked by it, right? Yeah, besides that, it was just really just about you need to utilize a bit more movement to like focus on, hey, to try and create more opportunities for yourself. Combos slash Oki. Combos I think were fine on some unfortunate drops, so maybe practice that. I don't really know that much, Brian. Oki. You're just running up and doing orbital is not Oki, right? Run up, do a hatchet kick, take advantage of, okay, what has my opponent done in the past on Oki, and how can I take advantage of that, right? Or, okay, my opponent likes to stay on the ground because they're expecting orbital. What are my ground hitting options to pester them and punish them for staying on the ground, right? So being a lot more, add a lot more variety to your Oki options. Uh, Personal opinion stuff. Options that I think are nice, but your mileage may vary, right? Like everybody has their preferred way of playing. And granted, again, not a huge Bryan guy, but like there might be other options that you might be aware of that I'm not, or the options I suggest you kind of you're like, there are better things I could be doing. These are just, food for thought. Just give it a shot, or if you feel like you have other tools that you prefer, hey, if it works out for you, it works out, right? More power to you. Use more down 4, right? Fast, unseeable low, that's decent chip damage. 13 damage is solid. It's not Fok levels of damage with 17, 18, because Fok is bullshit, Fokum or whatever. But it's not like pathetic damage, like 7 points of damage or something, right? 13 damage is pretty significant. And more importantly, it's just like this nice little low poke that you can use to kind of like punish, to make your opponent be like, oh, it's not hatchet, fuck, right? It's a lot faster, it's a lot harder to adjust the timing to. It gives you a lot more room to work with. Use 1+2 more, right? When they start sidestepping and they like sidestep your orbital in your face, clearly there's a problem here. You're not doing enough to lock them in place and make them sort of be like, all right, I need to respect him. And more importantly, when you use moves like 1+2 to discourage sidestepping, that opens up the door for more back ones, right? That was just a big thing throughout the match. It's, you clearly see your opponent is very passive, like they're just backdashing, they're just holding back, they're not doing anything. And you don't instead of utilizing more back one or hatchet kick, you just use whatever the knee move was. Like you're it's safe on pushback, sure, but you're not doing anything to kind of be like, all right, let me create an opportunity here, right? So more back ones, more 1+2s, more lows to just kind of like keep chipping away at your opponent. Chip damage is very valuable in this game. Not every opportunity and every bit of momentum that you get in a match is going to be this big, crazy launcher into a full combo, into a wall splat, right? A lot of the times, it's just kind of like, oh, I got to chip in for some damage. And against Ling, that's everything you need, right? You just keep building up that chip damage, and it adds up throughout the match. Maybe utilizing Bryan's throw game a bit more. I'm not sure if it's like a crazy usable one, like if he's got all the breaks and everything, but your opponent was just really passive in the early rounds, right? Later on in the rounds, they're just like, all right, let me just throw whatever against this guy and see how it goes. But as the matches progress, or early on in the matches, you should have been doing a bit more throws to punish him for not ducking as much, right? So then when he starts ducking, you can start doing back one or 1+2 and all this other shenanigans. Or 3+4, right? 3+4 is always there. Because otherwise, it's just kind of like, all right, I'm just going to stand block. Okay, you did 1 or 2 hatchets, but you're just going to go back to doing your other mid moves that don't do anything on block, right? And you're not giving a reason for your opponent to duck. You're not doing anything that's like, all right, opponent, you need to change up your game plan here, otherwise you're in trouble. You're just kind of passively just throwing out buttons. Oh, they blocked it, whatever, let's try it again because it's safe. And that's understandable because it's a safe button, but you're not doing anything to kind of like create an opportunity for yourself through conditioning, through taking advantage of whatever your opponent is not doing, right? Yeah, I mean, that's about the extent of my Bryan knowledge. I just know like 3 moves, man. Sorry, I wish I had more to offer. Yeah. So, like I said in the beginning, I guess a wrap up. Overall, your movement's too stiff. Work on your movement. You're all over the place with your neutral. You need to work on being more compact. Not because of like, oh, this is what the pros do. It's like, just stop putting yourself at risk. Stop throwing away your turn. Right? It's like there's so much more you could be doing, but instead you choose to just kind of not flowchart, but you're not doing anything to really set the pace of the match. You're just kind of like, all right, hope this works out. Have at it. And like I said at the beginning, this is just my 2 cents, man. And, at the end of the day, it is by no means gospel. It's just kind of like, hey, here's what I saw during the match. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, we're all here to help. That's about it. Later.